This is the second battle in the Total War Center team tournament, a 2 versus 2 tournament with a Pre-Marian Roman theme. And here we see the Senate commanded by General Nuisance, aka Scipii, and Reeve, and they're facing off against the Scipii, commanded by Confused Johnny, aka Emotion Name, and made in the UK. Now the Senate have taken a force of 16 archers, comparable to the Scipii's 18 archers. The Senate have 8 triarii against the Scipii's 4 principes and 7 hastati. The Senate have 12 cavalry auxilia against the Scipii's 7 equites. And the Senate have also taken 4 war dogs. So what we see here is that the Senate have a lighter, more mobile force with triarii presumably for defence of the archers, while the Scipii have taken more of an all-arms force. Now to begin the battle, Confused Johnny, as you see here, sent 1 unit of cavalry off to explore the woods, presumably to ascertain if there was anyone hiding there, and he discovered to his cost just how weak Pre-Marian Roman cavalry are. They were punished severely by Reeve's archers. Now after many minutes in which the two armies stared each other down, waiting for the other to move, which I've edited out, the Senate advanced, and Johnny brought out 1 unit of cavalry auxilia, here, which you see here, which he had hidden in the woods far to his right, and which he brought out presumably with the idea of trying to distract Reeve while Scipii was occupied with 2 armies at once. He also, as you see, sent out another unit of cavalry by itself, which was immediately destroyed. Now the objective in the first phase of the battle for both armies was to knock out the other side's archery and cavalry capability, and the tool that they had to use for this was their own cavalry. And so we see a series of charges and counter-charges as they each try to gain the upper hand. If they can defeat their opponent's archery capability, then there'll be nothing stopping them from tearing the enemy's infantry apart with massed archery fire. And as you can see, the Senate managed to lure Scipii cavalry, which meant that the Scipii were trying to knock out the Senate cavalry while under heavy archery fire, and while they were suffering from the morale effects of being distanced from the main battle force, the concerned by number of enemy morale effect. This means that the Senate were able to snatch a key advantage in this first phase of the battle. However, they did not fully capitalize upon it due to a blunder of their own with their infantry, as you will see presently. Now the reason it's so essential to knock out the enemy archery capability is that Roman archers set to skirmish cannot be caught by infantry alone, a factor which will become important later in the battle. Now here you see that in their eagerness to capitalise upon the defeat of the Scipii cavalry, the Senate put their own cavalry under infantry pillar fire and wasted them. Now here we see the beginning of the Senate's blunder. They begin to send their infantry in, uncoordinated and piecemeal, and also in a frontal attack rather than by shunting them over to one side and trying to peel away the Scipii battle line. You see the triarii stopping for no apparent reason within pillar range and being punished appropriately. It seems that the Senate's attention was occupied behind the lines of the Scipii at this point, leading their cavalry and ensuring that the Scipii archers did not rejoin the battle. As a result, the Scipii were able to concentrate their infantry and brutally crush the Senate's triarii. This was actually an unusually long battle, partly because of the extended period at the beginning in which the two armies faced off against each other, neither willing to attack the other, and neither having artillery to force the other to attack them, and also to the curious situation that's about to ensue. Oh, and here, by the way, you see an example of how ineffective conventional hammer and anvil tactics are using Pre-Marian units, because Roman light cavalry is essentially so weak. you see that unit of Scipii infantry, which was surrounded by cavalry and infantry, just beat them off, both off without any difficulty at all. Now, the curious situation about to ensue, which I was about to mention, is that the Scipii, noticing that the Senate have abandoned the hill that's the main prominence of this Italian lowland map, head up there, and the two armies have basically swapped places, bafflingly. The Scipii have no archers left whatsoever, and so now they leave their infantry on top of this hill for many minutes to recuperate their fatigue levels. Here you see that the Senate, who have 3 units of damaged triarii left, cunningly hide them in the woodlands, a knot of trees not far from the hill. They can't hide the general unit there, but perhaps now the Senate can wear down the superior Scipii infantry up on that hill with what remains of their archery ammunition to whittle down their numbers and affect their morale, and then finally inflict a killer blow with the remaining infantry, which the Scipii hopefully will have forgotten about. Now you see here that the Senate is surrounding the Scipii infantry with their archers all around the hill and behind. And after several minutes in which the two armies face off against each other, which I have again edited out, while they both recuperate their fatigue levels, the Senate begins an archery bombardment, and since they are surrounding the Scipii infantry, they can essentially target themselves to ensure that they're always firing into the rear of the target infantry, which bypasses the shield bonus to their defence and ensures a greater number of casualties. And the Scipii did not seem to put their troops on loose formation, which would have helped. Time passes. At one point, the Scipii try to send out a couple of units of Astarte to chase archers, which is quite useless unless the archers are exhausted, and thus they drain away their fatigue levels, and in consequence mere archers by themselves are able to rout them. Obviously the Scipii are pretty desperate at this point, but this really was just an unnecessary waste of vital men. Now after the archers are nearly out of ammunition, the Senate bring out their infantry. Here we see another foreboding example of what can happen to infantry you send chasing after archers on skirmish. And before the Senate launch their final assault, they use their remaining arrows to assassinate the last Scipii general, as you can see here. He dies pitifully and dishonourably and in disgrace. Finally, they bring up their infantry, separate them, one to the left, one to the centre, and one to the right, presumably in the hope that the Scipii will do exactly what they now do, which is to desperately seize upon the opportunity to attack an exposed flank of one unit by itself. However, they don't do it with sufficient vigour. They send only 2 units instead of everything they have, and in consequence they find their own flank quickly exposed to the other Senate triarii, who promptly seize upon the opportunity to decisively attack and destroy the remaining Scipii infantry. The Senate then commit their remaining archers in melee attack to complete the encirclement and form a pocket of trapped Scipii infantry, who promptly die. They're shown more or less as much mercy as they deserve. And here we see the last 12 soldiers, Astarte, in the entire Scipii army, seeking glorious death in battle. Glory!
This is a dark day.
Run away! Run away!
The enemy is beaten our army.
Pitiful, really.